episode of Justin the Food Entrepreneurs Podcast. I'm Justin Bizzarro. I'm your host. That's Bizzarro, and you can find me on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook at Justin Bizzarro. You can also find our podcast at Justin the Food Entrepreneurs on Facebook and Instagram as well. And you can find our new podcast, the Centurion Leadership Battalion, at Centurion Leadership Battalion on Instagram and Facebook as well. And all of our podcasts are now available on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and Podbean. So take a listen. Please share it. Please listen on any platform you're comfortable with, or share all the platforms. That would be great. So today I have with us Steve Seabury of Long Island, New York, who has formed and founded High River Sauces. How are you doing today, Steve?
I'm doing well. Yourself?
I'm doing very well. I'm a little bottled up. I actually got to tell you, it's funny. I saw this thing the other day, since we're all in quarantine, of, this thing of why the dog sprints out of the house as soon as the doors open. I know that feeling now. And I was like, this cartoon is totally true. You're in your house so much, the door opens and you want to sprint out in full fury. And the other part that reminds me of it is you hear an engine start and you just want to run to the car and get in and get the hell out of Dodge, So it's like, oh man.
Exactly.
So I'm a little stir crazy. I travel a lot in the food world, so I'm usually on the road every other week. So being home these 5 weeks in a row has been a little bit crazy. Ups and downs for sure. If I were to be truly authentic, it's a little hard. Uncertainty and things like that, but I'm doing pretty good, honestly. So on that note, Steve, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into the sauce business, and your background.
Well, I got into, I've always loved spicy food ever since I was a little kid in Boy Scouts. We always dare each other and see who could eat the hottest pepper or the hottest hot sauce. And, I always loved cooking. I grew up on a farm in upstate New York, and, my mom was an awesome chef. Stay-at-home mom chef, and, what do you call it? And, she just kind of taught me how to cook. And then when I moved to New York City in 96, I was in a whole new world. I was like, wow, I grew up in a small town, and I moved to New York City, and there was just like food I'd never experienced before. And I was like a kid in a candy store. And, after, playing in band, I grew up playing guitar too and playing in bands and stuff. So when I was touring, I always made my homemade hot sauce just to make, late night 7-Elevens or late night Taco Bell trips a lot easier, and taste better. And all my friends were like, oh, you should sell this, man. This is so good. And so finally we just started bottling it and giving it away and selling it. And I started doing farmers markets, and we're probably in 700,000 grocery stores now. We're in 11 different countries, and it's a little hobby turned into a business that's hard to juggle sometimes, but we're doing our best.
That's incredible. That is seriously incredible. I love that. So, what an accomplishment, right? So when did you form the business, and how long has it taken you to get to where you are?
We started, we actually sold our first bottle of hot sauce in 2011, professionally, and here we are today. It just gets bigger and bigger. It seems like every day we're getting more opportunities. People know who we are. We got, brand loyalty with our, our customer base, fan base, and, word of mouth spreads. And, we're very, I kind of view it like being a musician, DIY. I'm not kicking down anybody's doors. I'm not doing any of that stuff. I'm a strong believer of, you got to start playing in a band in a garage before you play Madison Square Garden, So that's kind of our mentality. We just want to do the farmers markets, commit locally, grow regionally, and then try to take off the rest of the world, So that's been our model, and we've been really happy with it.
So I'm going to, this is a weird coincidence, and it's actually, so I actually, out of, I work with all different types of food entrepreneurs, but you're the fourth person that has started a hot sauce or sauce company after playing in a band. It's like it's a weird correlation there, and I want to tie it to the audience because we've never really tied this together. One of the things that happens in entrepreneurs in general, not just in food and beverage, is that the way you guys learn, it's like you talked about, you start off in a garage before you get to Madison Square Gardens, or if you're an athlete, you start off dribbling the basketball at your house with a hoop on the side of your garage, and
Exactly.
Then you get to the level. So that mentality of, I just got to stay in the grind and I just got to keep working at it before I can actually achieve success on a higher level. I've got to start somewhere and keep working at it. That mentality spills over into being an entrepreneur, whether it's a musician or whether it is an athlete. And I think you just touched upon, and I think it's important, and anyone who's not a musician or hasn't been an athlete, that's the understanding. I have been blessed where I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs and I was an athlete. So, there were those things, but that being said, I had to learn very hard that if I didn't get playing time, it meant I need to do more. So in your case, or if we're talking about food, if you're not on the shelf, it just means you got to keep working at it and not give up.
Yeah, exactly. And I talk to a lot of, friends and stuff. They're like, oh man, I gotta get in Walmart or whatever, they're big box retailer. I'm like, well, why? I mean, if you do get in that account, your bottles are going to collect dust. The account's going to get pissed off because it's not selling. They're going to want to return it, and you're never going to get back into that account. I'm a strong believer. You got to, like I said, start in the garage. You got to build a local following, a regional following, and build brand awareness, customer loyalty, and then get in the stores, and then people will start buying it. And, in our first 4 or 5 years, we were probably in maybe a dozen or so stores, and we were just content just doing farmers markets and, hot sauce festivals and stuff like that, just to build our base. And now, we have so much product sell through in all our stores that we're in, and it's a great feeling. So I'm glad we did it that way, because I see other people trying to do it the opposite way, like quick growth and go out of the box shooting strong. And they're usually here today, gone later today. They're not, not in business, very long.
Well, and it's 100% true. And I think growing up on a farm somewhat helps that also, because no matter how many times you feed the cow or change the hay or clean a horse stall, you still got to do it every day. There still has to be that persistence with never an end in sight. And that's really what it is. What you're saying is there's never an end in sight, because you got to keep working at it. And if you really want to grow a brand, you can't look at it like, if I just get here. No, it's I got to keep working at it and see where it goes and just go with it. And I love what you said is basically it took 5 years to really build the loyalty, and then you sort of explode out of that, because it is building one relationship at a time with one customer at a time and moving forward. And then people talk and they share it, but that takes a lot of time to cultivate when it comes to food. It's not like the internet and it's a software where you can just spread it around and 10 million people sign up for it. When it comes to food and beverage, people have got to taste it, they've got to like it, and it takes a little longer to share it and spread it and people to find it, especially because you go regionally at first, just by nature. It's hard to get a product nationwide at first, and if you do, you probably spend too much money and bankrupt yourself. So.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, one of the things that we did was when we started taking off regionally, I was like, wow, this is really cool. I believe in hard work, perseverance. I work 7 days a week. It's just in my nature and my blood, but, going back to when I was in a band and, doing music touring, and stuff like that, Hot Sauce became my new band. All the recipes that we create, they're my songs. The labels that we put on the bottles, those are my album covers. Music is the only thing I can relate to, kind of. And so when we were trying to build our base, I could put together a music festival. I can do tours and so that. So I was like, well, how come there's not like a hot sauce tour or not like that? So we started the Tupperware of Destruction tour, and it's all hot sauce. And we organize, High River Sauces organizes the New York City, California, Portland, Oregon, Chicago, and we're going to add a new one in Charlotte this year. But we do all those hot sauce expos huge festivals, thousands and thousands of people come out, and that's really helped us brand our name as well. And so now we're really getting a lot of shelf space now on the West Coast now, which is awesome because of doing these expos, and people are seeing that High River Sauces presents all these shows, and kind of making it a lifestyle, man. This is this is our way of life, and there's a lot of people that live, breathe, and eat hot sauce as well, and those are the people we're going after.
And so, I mean, let's tell people where they can find you online, what stores they can find you in, and what your social media is, because I want to make sure everyone goes and looks at you guys.
Yeah, everything is High River Sauces. So it's highriversauces.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. It's all High River Sauces. So just find me. You email me from the site or social media, it all comes to me personally, and I personally respond to every single person. So, stop in and say hello, and any questions about the hot sauce, feel free to ask. And we always do some giveaways. If any purchase on the website, I always throw in like sunglasses or whatever. And most of the stores that we're in, we're in some regional grocery stores, nothing like national, but a lot of boutique, artisanal stores that support, organic, all that stuff. And, our biggest location, we're in a store called Price Chopper that owns 146 stores in upstate New York. That's our biggest account that we have. But we're on Amazon. We're in a bunch of regional supermarkets and, specialty stores and stuff like that.
And so tell us about the different sauces that you guys have. Sort of give me a story behind them. And I love the logos and the designs for the labels on every hot sauce. And I think you have really cool packaging, but let's really dive into those, Steve. Like, tell me about, how you came up with these ideas. I love the Chiba Gold name, by the way, but that may be because I'm a Colorado resident. But it's
not many people get the joke.
yeah. So I love it. It's incredible. And but let's really dive into the story behind each one. And I mean, what was the first one you started off with?
The first one was our hellacious hot sauce. Basically, that sauce started it all. I was working on this music festival, and Live Nation wanted to, buy a lot of the tour. We did 26 shows on that run, and they were like, "Hey, we should do a VIP package." And I was like, "Oh, that sounds great. Let's do a hot sauce." They're like, "Awesome. We need 600 bottles." And I was like, okay. So I had recipes and stuff. And my friends always say, "Dude, you got to start a hot sauce company." So I was like, all right. So we went to a kitchen, and we cooked up 600 bottles. We shipped it off, and the bands loved it on the tour. The kids loved it, and people were emailing me, "Hey, where can I get more of the sauce?" I was like, "Whoa, this is crazy." And so we made more, and we were doing all stuff from the tour website. And then I'm friends with Chris Caffrey, who's the lead guitar player of the band Trans-Siberian Orchestra. And I was putting out a cookbook through Simon & Schuster, and Chris was a good friend, and I wanted him to be part of the cookbook. And he goes, "Hey, man, I remember you telling me you like hot sauce. I love hot sauce too. Here's a mason jar that I made." And I was like, "Oh, cool." And I had a mason jar of my stuff too, and I gave it to him, and he's like, "Oh my God, your stuff's awesome." And I was like, "Dude, why don't we, let's put a sauce out together." So the next sauce was Tears of the Sun with Chris, and then it just kind of spiraled out of control. I just started, it's like getting in a recording studio or playing a guitar, man. You start creating all these riffs, and where do you want to put them, So we have like really mild stuff to the super ultra hots, So our Thunder Juice is our newest sauce. I love tequila, so we infused our peppers with tequila, and we wanted to make it really, really hot, so we used the Scorpion, Reaper, and the Ghost peppers, and I think will light you up, dude. It's awesome. It's a good burn, and then our Green Manalishi, it's a Judas Priest song, and I love Priest, so we did that sauce. It's a verde sauce, but we did that in collaboration with another good buddy of mine, He's on the Food Network show Chopped. Chef Chris Santos, New Yorker. He's a big metalhead and owns like Beauty and Essex and Stanton Social and Vandal here in New York. And so we just released that a couple months ago, and it's been doing really well for us. And it's all about the brotherhood of metal and just DIY mentality and just work hard and just get it done.
And I love this. I love the names. I love the logo. So, I mean, tell me one, where did the name come from for your company? But then two, how did you sort of come up with these names for your hot sauces, and then the designs for each of the labels?
I'm kind of like I don't know. Everyone says I'm creative. I guess that's my music side. So, like I said, I wanted these sauces to be my creative outlet now that I'm not in the band anymore. So, like, the recipes are my songs. So I just, I try to make them, what I like to eat, So, the Hellacious, our first one, I really love smoky flavors. I love barbecuing and grilling and stuff. So I wanted a sauce that would complement that. So then the Tears of the Sun is a peaches, pineapple, mango hot sauce. It's delicious, wins tons of awards, but it's got that nice sweet heat to it. The Chiba Gold is I love, Barbados, love that style of sauce. So we incorporated, kind of their flair with my Long Island flair, so, we kind of use some Long Island peaches and some other things that aren't traditional in the Barbados style, but we use mustard and curry and made that sauce, and that was on Hot Ones Season 8, and people really, really love that sauce. And then the Rogue sauce has blood oranges, apples, and pears in it with a Serrano Ghost Scorpion pepper, so you get that nice citrusy note of the orange. And then you get, hit upside the head with the scorpion and the ghost pepper. And then our Fufu Mama Chew is in collaboration with my daughter. She was really big into Disney movies, and she was like, "Daddy, I want to make a hot sauce with you." And I'm like, "Cool. What ingredients you want in it?" So she told me, and so I was, me and her were making, we're working together on this hot sauce, and I was like, I go, well, we got to come up with a name for it. And she goes, we got to come up with a spell. And she was talking all this Disney stuff, and she goes, how about Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo? And I was like, well, I don't know if we're get away with that one, And I go, why don't you create your own spell? And she goes, all right, how about Fufu Mamachu, turn Daddy into a dragon? I was like, Fufu Mamachu? I'm like, that's it, So we made the Fufu Mamachu. We put the dragon on the label artwork. And we just, it's all personal to me, It's all like, to hang out with friends and family, and kind of get inspired by that. That's how we come up with the artwork. And I'll chicken scratch stuff on a piece of paper, and I'll give it to some better artists who can make me look like a genius. So I have a couple of artists that help me out with creating the label artwork to make my ideas reality.
And so, I mean, just out of curiosity, do you use a co-packer, or do you package it all? Do you run your own factory? I mean, how have you gone about that?
When we first started out, I would run a kitchen, and which was great. You network with a lot of upstarts and younger entrepreneurs, and it just got to be a hassle for me because you can either make it or sell it, and when it's just you doing everything. So we did that for the first year, and then I got deeper into the hot sauce world and became really good friends with some people, other hot sauce companies. And they're like, dude, you're killing yourself, man. Why are you doing it? You can go down to this co-packer and give them your recipe, and they'll blast it out for you. And I'm like, I never even heard of a co-packer at the time, So I say, sure. So we went down to this co-packer, and they specialize in hot sauce. And it's been amazing. They're so passionate about hot sauce, and they want to make your recipe exactly how you make it and stuff. So we've been with them since 2013, I think, and haven't looked back. It's been great. So I recommend co-packers to all my friends who are starting out. When you don't have a lot of money to invest in, warehouse and equipment and hiring employees. A co-packer is great,
Well, and I think it's interesting, and I'm obviously, I don't want to be biased because we do co-packing all over the country, as well as hospital food and long-term care and food for grocery stores and stuff. But I think what happens is it's hard. It would be hard for me to do co-packing and build a brand. So it's just like where you were trying to build a brand and build a company, but then you also have to worry about the manufacturing. It makes it hard to do both because manufacturing is so time consuming, but on the other hand, trying to grow a brand is so time consuming. And so, it's one of those things I think each entrepreneur has to weigh out how they want to do it. But I always tell people, you can always take it back if you grow big enough and do your own manufacturing plant, but at least take the stepping stone to get from small to medium with a co-packer, because it's hard how to manage that and grow a brand or manage the day-to-day stuff or get sales out there or sell your product. It gets very hard. And obviously it needs to make sense because a lot of co-packers require minimums.
Right. Well, that was one thing with us is that we were getting to that point when we walked in our co-packer and they're like, yeah, these are the minimums. I was like, all right, cool. So we were lucky because we had a good base and we were turning product over. And, it's tough being in the kitchen all day long, me and my wife just doing it, So, our ultimate goal is, yes, we'd love to, open up our own facility. And then, we figure, a couple more years, 5 more years, we'll get there. But like I said, I just love the organic growth. I'm not force feeding this down anybody's throat. We're getting fans, on our own just by being cool to everyone, and our stuff tastes really good. We win tons of awards, and we're out there. I love competing. I love sports and stuff, and so yeah, I recommend a co-packer for a small company. But as you get bigger, absolutely, man, pop it off and hire people and grow that way as well, and start making it yourself.
Well, and what a great market to start off in, being right there in New York City. I mean, it's a total foodtopia. It's like it's the place where, is it more expensive to own a restaurant? Absolutely. But you have so many more people and you get such fast feedback on what works and what doesn't work.
I 100% agree with you, but I also think that, like the song says, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere.
Yeah.
New York is so hard, man. It's there's millions of people here, but no one wants to help you. There's no I got hot sauce friends in, secondary and tertiary markets, and they're like, dude, we're in every single store, gas station. I'm like, man, I go down I go down to the bodega. I go every single day to buy, whatever. And the guy goes, no, I got Tabasco. I don't need this. I'm like, well, I'm local, dude. I'm in here every day. No, sorry.
Yeah, that is true. That's true. That's very true.
If you're having a heart attack on the sidewalk, 100 people are going to step over you before someone does help you.
No, I know. And I actually read a thing about that not too long ago about there was a fire. Like someone was literally on fire in New York, and there were 30 people, and they stood around and watched, yet no one called the fire department. No. Everyone assumed someone else was going to do it because there's this huge group mentality there. And then the other part about it is because of it, no one wants to help anyone. Everyone is so busy and rushing around trying to deal with what they have. They don't help. But so let's talk about that.
Insanity,
So let's talk about that. New York is a hard place, right? And I feel like it's a foodtopia, like I said, and if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. I agree with that. So how did you scale it? I mean, you talked a little bit about going to festivals and stuff, but you obviously, you go to the bodega every day. Wasn't your market at first. How did you manage all that? It's got to be frustrating on a lot of levels. Number one, confidence and, but we talked about keep going to make it to Madison Square Garden. But sort of tell me what your thought was amongst all this and how you sort of went around that. Having once lived in New York myself, I understand how hard it is to get a business off the ground in New York, let alone food business.
Well, that was one. Well, yeah, no, New York is tough, man. It's there's a lot of regulations. I still don't believe it's the most business friendly area at all.
No.
But what we did is, being that we live here, we got to work around it. So, we just started doing farmers markets and, like the street fairs and, whatever, there's a lot of, street fairs are big in New York, and, so we would do them and, people would see us. Oh, I just saw you in Long Island last weekend, and people would recognize us. I'm really outgoing. I love talking to people and shaking hands and stuff. So, people recognize us. And so when we started growing that, we were trying to get in the stores in Long Island and in New York City. And I would literally go door to door to door to every business, every grocery store. We just got shot down, and we do the fancy food show at the Javits Center every year, and we would get shot down. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong, you know? And so people were telling us, they're like, hey, your labels, you know, we're looking for a traditional label, logo, same thing, like, you know, Heinz, Tabasco, they all got that brand. They're all, you know, they have all that look. We're a little bit, you know,
yeah,
a little bit more creative in the sense our labels are lit. So a lot of companies didn't want to bring us in because they're like, oh my God, you know, our consumers would never buy this. This scares them the skull. Oh, you know, so we fought that, and everyone's like, your sauces are amazing. Why don't you just change the labels? And I was like, I refuse. This is my thing. I'm not going to sell out. I'm going to do it, you know? So thank God for the beer world, because all the craft breweries now are really coming out with these awesome packaging on their cans and stuff like that. And I think it's really helped me out now, years later. It's people are like, oh my God, I love that. Oh my God, I'll sell that crazy in my store. And I'm like, well, last year you told me to go F myself. Yeah. You know? So it's been hard. It's been tough, but like I said, man, it's a grind, dude. And I'm not afraid of working hard. And if I got to work 80 hours a day, I will. You know, it doesn't matter to me. You know, and luckily the past couple of years, it's been getting easier. I think our festivals and that we put together, and just I think hot sauce has become more popular in the mainstream. And I think people really respond to our labels now. I mean, people always tell me, dude, you should put that image on a T-shirt. I'd buy it in a second, you know? And I'm like, wow. So I definitely seen the change of it, but it's really, really hard being in New York City and trying to get your, I mean, there's people that do support. I don't want to say everyone's against you, but there are, you find people that do want to support you and are like-minded, but man, it's really, really tough though.
I know, absolutely. And New York City is they're one of the, it just happens. I mean, every coffee place has the same coffee cup. Every pizza place has the same pizza box. Yeah. And it's a little bit regulated. Let's be honest here, including like trying to tell people they can only have 16-ounce soda or 12-ounce soda, not 20-ounce, and whatever that whole debacle was years ago.
It's ridiculous.
But so there is a lot of that too, and I agree with you on the business-friendly spot. New York does not make it any easier, and neighborhood by neighborhood doesn't make it any easier, and it is harder. But one of the things I want to talk about, what you just said, is the labeling and the differentiation of the label. And I agree with you, all the microbreweries are doing, and we're starting to see food and beverage companies do it elsewhere. And I agree with you. We get in this pattern as companies that we build a brand and then everything's got to look similar to that brand on every product that's within that brand. And yes, there's a logo and whatever else, but I will tell you that we are entering a world of people are becoming more and more personalized because of social media. So whether people like that flavor or not, they want something that's unique to them. We're seeing it with coffee. We're starting to see it, you know, we're starting to get really down in the weeds in terms of people are really getting the chance to like their individual items or their exact hot sauce. You know, there's hundreds of thousands of hot sauces, easily, right? But people still choose and buy the ones that they want. And there's still enough room in the market, I would say, for lots more hot sauces. Because you go to some of the websites and just as a disclaimer, so everyone in the audience knows, our refrigerator in our house has 2 freaking shelves of hot sauce. That's how much we eat it and like it in our house. So
that's awesome.
You know, so that's, and everyone has their different preference. And not only do they have their different preference, but, you know, Zoe wants, you know, Cholula on her eggs, but she wants Louisiana on her rice and pork. And so, like, you have different things, and those are generalities. I use those because everyone would know those names. It's not really what happens. There's, like, this specialty one out of Puerto Rico that one likes and for dinner, and one likes this for lunch, and one likes this on a sandwich. And so our whole household is, like, crazy about hot sauces. You know, anytime someone goes here, they're like, oh, my gosh, how many hot sauces do you guys have at your house? You have no idea. And it's always, we have a celebration every time we finish one because we get to buy another one. But it's...
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. But, you know, it is one of those things where it is personalized now. and personalizing the labels. I love what you guys have done. And, you have this logo which represents your brand, but each hot sauce sort of gets to stand on its own because of the way it is and the way it tastes. It's not something that, I'm going to buy this one because it's the same brand. Yeah, you want that brand loyalty, but you also want people to try it because they're interested in it or they feel a connection to it. And by doing different labels, what we're seeing in the microbrewery is people really are attaching to things or trying new things because the labels attract them, because they're not so standardized across every line. If I didn't like the logo, it means your whole product line's out. And we don't realize, but we do that subconsciously.
Yeah, I was one of our bigger accounts. They took a chance on us, and he saw us at one of our expos, the buyer, and he's like, "Man, your stuff tastes so good. I just don't know how it's going to sell with these labels." I was like, "Dude, just give it a shot. If it doesn't sell, I'll bring back every single bottle, man. It's all good, man. No, And he's like, "All right, let's do it." So after the month, went by, I'm like, "How'd you do it?" He goes, "Dude, you're not going to believe it. You're the third best-selling hot sauce here." I'm like, "Really?" He goes, "I've been waiting and asking people. People see your labels, and they grab the bottle, and they're looking at it like, wow, this is awesome,' and they throw it right in the cart."
Yeah.
Because I'm a strong believer. If you touch something off the shelf, you're probably going to buy it, So it's working out for us now. Before, it was a real battle.
And I got to tell people something about this, and your labels are sort of like this, but two of the most successful companies I've worked with in terms of growing from the ground up have actually had their logos designed by tattoo artists. And it's a really interesting thing because they're so unique in this sort of where the food and beverage space, it's very institutional. And people aren't going to see that, but you look at the craft logos, and while they're staples of, I'll just say America, because I will just use a smaller microcosm right now, we get these staples. It's craft, it's Hidden Valley, salad dressing. We get very used to these staples, but they're very institutional now. They're very plain compared to what we can really do with technology and designing labels and logos and stuff like that. And we're going to start to see that stuff really matter. People like that stuff. It's more, it's more appealing. And I think it sparks people's curiosity now, and newer generations that are coming into the population in order of adulthood, in order to buy things or go to the grocery store like they're doing, they have much more individuality and a lot more curiosity when it comes to food, and so they're willing to try new things and then become loyal to those things. So there's a whole new world out there, and I think that's exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, no, exactly. And and people are really want to support local businesses more now. And they, because when we travel around the country, dude, people in California make the hot sauce way different than people in Long Island, and down south or Portland, Oregon. So to me, it's really awesome. And it's like music, like I said, everything equates to music to me. I mean, bands sound different in New York City than you do in Seattle, Washington, So it's really awesome. That's why I love traveling the country, trying different, manufacturers, hot sauce, going to local bars, and to me, that's what it's supposed to be all about, So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, my favorite, and I'll just tell everyone, I love the name Chiba Gold. That's my favorite name by far. But actually, my favorite label is actually the Rogue one. I don't know why that's the one that appeals to me. And I didn't even read what's on it fully, but it's. It's like, I think it becomes a preference, and red's my favorite color. It tracks me more, but that's the whole point of it. If it's too institutionalized and it's too standard and it's not different, people get so attached to it. It's like, even if you're going to go with a basic label nowadays, have a different color go onto that exact logo for different products if you're going to standardize it too much, or you're worried about spending too much money on different labels and you want to standardize, at least vary the color from product to product.
Right.
Do something, because you need to categorize it in people's mind. And, I've never really talked about this on the podcast before, but we'll get into the whole merchandising thing, which is people's minds are attracted to what's different. And if something's too standardized across the board, what happens if I see Hidden Valley, I sort of scan all the Hidden Valleys. I actually don't read what they are. I'm not going to read, is there a new avocado lime vinaigrette? How would I know that? The label
Right.
looks the same because I just scanned the aisle the same way. But if the logos are slightly different by color, or there's totally different labels like what you did, as I'm scanning that section, oh, I've never seen this label before because it's that much different. And then I get curious and look at it, because we go down the shelves, and especially in grocery stores or even on the internet now, we scroll at a rapid rate, or we walk down the aisles at a rapid rate. And if something looks familiar and we see it all the time, we don't really stop and notice if anything's new about it. And that's a lot of things. People are like, oh, it's a new product. It failed because of taste. No, usually it fails because no one knows that it's even a new product, because it looks the same as the other products. And I think that's really cool what you've done.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. It's there was times where I'm like, man, do I sell out and do this? And I'm like, just do it. And I'm like, fuck that, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I know.
So, and I'm glad I didn't, because now people are like, dude, that's awesome. You stood your ground. And now I see other people, being a little bit more creative on their label artwork now too, which is awesome. To me, that's what it's supposed to be about. And when people see High River sauces, they know it's High River sauces. They know my picture, my face, and dude, I got hair down on my, my ass, and I'm covered in tattoos. People know I'm this wild dude, man,
No, and
so
it's like fun. It's there's certain things, and people, I'm very much the same way. I frustrate a lot of people and they don't understand me, because being an entrepreneur, I always know you got to stick what's true to you, and you are the brand, and you are representing it. I don't care if you use a co-packer. I don't care how big you get. At the end of the day, if you're still the founder and the owner, and you're running that business and you're putting it out there, you are the face of it. And everything you do still has to be true to who you are, because you're reflected in every product you make. And, people start cutting corners and institutionalizing things and trying to standardize things or get cheap on things and not staying true to themselves. Their brands go down the tubes time and time again, and we don't learn. We always think the money is the quickest way, but really the money in the long term will stay there if you stay true to yourself like you've done.
Yeah, I mean, we lease farmland from various farmers around the country just to grow our meet our demand, because obviously I'm not going to grow anything in New York City,
Yeah.
And what do you call it? And I've gone to farmers and they're like, hey, I'll give you a cheaper price per pound, than what you're currently making, and I'm like, well, I just don't like how you're farming, so I say no. To me, yeah, it's a business and you got to make money, but I also think there's a right way to make money and how you do it. And so I don't care if something costs me a little bit more money, but at least I know that quality of product is going in my bottles, and I can sleep at night, knowing that I gave my customers the absolute best thing I could put in that bottle. And that means the world to me, man. I don't care about saving money. I do, but I'm not gonna cut corners to put a cheaper product in the bottle. People are like, what the fuck, man? That tastes like dog crap now. Oh, I'm saving a quarter, and to me, it's not about that. I just, I want people to be proud and be like, man, High River is fucking awesome, and we want to support this guy and this brand, and they put their heart and soul into every single bottle. We really do. And it just means the world to me.
Well, and food and beverage is a volume business. You want volume.
Exactly.
So if you go to save 25%, but it depreciates your product, whether it's the label or the quality of your product or the ingredients in your product, you're going to put down the volume. And so while you may make 25 cents more, you're going to have a lot less volume. So, I always try to explain this to people I work with or can mentor or work with, is that sometimes a smaller piece of a bigger pie is a lot more money. It may be a smaller piece percentage-wise, but if there's a larger pie, it's still more money to you. You got to look at it that way. And it's interesting because I love what you said. It's about the money, but not about the money. I agree with that 100%, because I think too often times we get so caught up in the cost of things, we lose track of what we're trying to actually do and what it represents. And then people wonder why they don't succeed. Well, you're not really taking the risk of putting your true self into your product and your true beliefs. You got to put your beliefs behind it. You got to be authentic. You got to be vulnerable in it, and you've got to put what you believe out there. And that's why when you guys reached out to me and I looked at it online, and I apologize, it took me a little longer than normal to respond with everything going on. But when I actually looked at your product lines, I was just like, holy crap, this is the coolest thing. It's exactly where I see the world going in the differentiation of labels and the products. And then you've obviously, now that I hear your story, you've sort of just let it grow organically. You know, you didn't force it. You let it be pulled along versus pushed it. You know, and I think,
right.
And as you said, I believe it was the term used, BYI. And so I think that's important. And I will tell you, I'm going to tell a little story, and I don't think the audience knows this, but about 2 months ago, I had a company come through, to a food company, a very large one, wanting to offer us basically 6 figures to sponsor the podcast. And without a hesitation, I said no, because it was never what the podcast was about. It's about telling everyone else's stories and giving back for all the things that I've done. And if I take a sponsor, I feel it takes away from the people who are actually on the podcast who are telling their stories, and it's about their brands. And the reaction I got, well, one, when I told them no flat out, I didn't even have to think about it. They're like, well, think about it. I'm like, I don't have to think about it. I'm staying true. I've been down this road before. I know in my own experience in my early years of being an entrepreneur that anytime I've ever tweaked because someone wants me to, it's bitten me in the ass every time, hard, and cost me way more money than it's ever saved me or made me. And so that's one. But two is then I was telling people, or they're like, really, why would you do that? And that's so much money. And I'm like, I guess I don't see it that way. I see that it's going to take away from the other people on the podcast, their money. It's going to take away from my money in the long run because I sold out, you know, and I'm a little bit like, there's something to be said. I know there's this joke in every movie, don't sell out, and the guy who sells out, and why not take the money and whatever. But there is something very true to staying true to yourself. And the other part of it is I've just always been that way. You can't put me in an office building. You can't put me in a skyscraper behind a desk. I will lose my shit. I just don't have the ability to work that way. And I think that's what it takes to be an entrepreneur, really, is exactly what you're doing, is you're doing it the way you want to do it. And you've got to hold true for it. And I actually... One more story, and I want to hear from you more, Steve. Sorry, I'm talking so much, but one of the things that someone said to me literally yesterday is that they're like, oh my God, you know, sometimes they're talking to them about their brand, and I'm involved in their brand and helping getting it to market. I'm like, you know, I feel like the dumbest person ever. I don't know anything. And I was like, you know what? I don't know whether you're dumb or not dumb, but I will tell you that to be an entrepreneur, you have to be dumb enough not to listen to any of the smart people telling you what they think you should do. So,
exactly.
Because there are times where people told me 100% I would fail at something. Without a doubt, I would not succeed at it. And on one hand, it's the fuel that powered me to get through it, because I'm like, I got to prove you wrong. But on the real side is I never listened to it, because either I'm stupid, which is a very strong possibility, or I just don't care because I see the vision in it and I want to do it anyway. And sometimes that's just enough to make it or break it. I mean, you had how many people give you feedback over the years, and you're like, no, I'm going to stick to it. And now look at it. You said 11 countries around the world. That's huge.
Yeah. You know, and I'm a strong believer. You got to, your passion comes through your product, and I think when people see how passionate you are, it helps you out more as just opposed to like, yeah, this is what I got in a bottle and wearing a suit and tie, and I got to meet my numbers this month. I understand we got to pay bills and we got to do all that stuff, but I think if you stay true to yourself and you're very passionate about what you do, one, it keeps you motivated. People see the passion, they want to help you out, and it just makes the story even more entertaining and fun. So you just got to stay true to your roots, and you got to work hard, and it'll eventually come to you. You just got to keep that grind down.
It's a crazy world, but it's like it's what goes against your nature is what you want to do. There is this weird thing that we want to conform sometimes. I actually don't have that problem. I think Actually, probably Deborah would say that I'm the opposite. Anything starts getting too standard, I'm like, like, no way. We got to rethink this. We got to redo it. And she's like, well, it's working perfectly normal. And I'm like, she's like, why? I hear about how if it's not broken, don't fix it. I'm like, well, it's going to be broken if I don't sway it the other direction. I mean, that's the kind of mindset that it is. Like, and so I'm constantly moving, and then I frustrate people because they're like, oh my God, you move so fast and your brain works so quickly and you have this thing and vision and going down the board and we can't keep up and you want to do all these products. And I'm like, and, I do have to slow it down sometimes, but it is one of those things where I think if we get too complacent or we start to conform too much in our brands, we don't continue to grow. And that's just a personal belief of mine and what I know from my own experience. I mean, there's plenty of people that have done well, but I guarantee you got to always be creative. If you're a beef jerky company, you got to keep coming up with new jerkies. If you're a hot sauce company, you got to keep coming up with new sauces. Just to keep it real. Otherwise, even if it's not to sell, you want to stay creative in your game. So
and I'm a strong believer that if it's not broken, don't fix it. Then that stops innovation. It stops creativity. If that was the case, well, we already got sriracha and Tabasco, so why do we need more hot sauce? Well, those guys aren't making hot sauce out of blood oranges. I am. So it's I totally hear what you're saying. You just put I'm the same way. I'm always thinking a million miles per hour. I can't sit still. I'm always, I can't even enjoy watching TV sometimes. I'm like, wait a minute, I shouldn't be watching TV. I should be working or something, So, but I think all entrepreneurs are wired that way, So, but to me, I wouldn't change it for the world. I love every second of every day. I love to see the growth. To me, it's like a video game. All right, I sold X amount of bottles this month. How many can I sell this month? And if you do things the way you want to do it, then I have no problem selling 1 million bottles if I can, because I did everything how I wanted to do it. And I could sleep at night, and it's like, being in bands, we could sell out and become a pop band. Well, screw that. I like playing death metal.
Yeah.
Well, not many people like death metal, so if you want to play in front of 20 dudes a night, well, I will, because I enjoy it more than, playing crappy music.
Yeah. And I think that's 100% spot on. And Steve, I mean, really, let's dive into it. Well, you said the video game thing, which I look at things the same way. It's like achievement points or keeping score or whatever. I see life very much that way, in that very competitive environment, even if it's competitive with myself from the month before. And I recently did this to myself with task lists. I'm like, task lists and conquering through task lists. I figured out this program that we use on Microsoft Teams called Team Planner. And now all of a sudden I'm like competitive with myself on the tasks. And it's the craziest thing. I got to do better than yesterday. I got to have a better score than last week, and I'm keeping score against myself. But what are the favorite things that you enjoy about the job and that you do now as an entrepreneur?
I personally love, just hearing people's feedback of our products, whether it's negative or positive. I just, one of the things I tell people that start up, I'm like, dude, do your local farmers market. You'll get people that will come up to you and say, this tastes like dog shit. You're like, really? And I always, every time I have a new product, I always bring it out to the farmers market first. I really believe that gives me a good starter point to see where I gotta, change the recipe or whatnot. And so I just love hearing feedback. And then when I do tweak it, it's in a bottle and it's for sale. I just love, I'm nervous about it because I'm like, oh my God, it's like writing a song. Are people going to really like this song, or is this going to be, sucky? And so I love it. My greatest thing is I just love, hearing people's stories. Like I get people every month that buy a case of our, rogue sauce or whatever sauce. I can count on that every month. And I'm like, what are these people doing this? And I'll reach out to them like, hey, thanks for the support. And they'll tell me like, oh my God, I can't live without the sauce. I put on this. And it's part of their daily rituals, and so I just like, I get a kick out of it, and that keeps me motivated, and I just love putting a smile on people's faces by doing like, I call myself a hot sauce outlaw because conform to trends. I just do my own thing, and it's really enjoyable to see people, their feedback and hearing people's excitement for the product. And that's what really keeps me going and kicking. I love it. It's an awesome feeling.
Well, and your attitude towards the feedback, good or bad, I think is so important. Often people get stuck in that the product may not be good, but the feedback is what helps you grow or tweak it or make it even better.
Absolutely.
And even the writing your own song. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm a strong believer. Like, if I love baseball, and you said we both live in Queens, and I'm a diehard New York Mets fan, and every time you go up to bat, dude, you're not going to hit a grand slam. I'm sorry, you're not going to. You're going to strike out. You're going to ground out. You're going to hit a double. Go into a double play, whatever. Same thing with being an entrepreneur. Anything that you put in the market doesn't make it you're going to become an instant millionaire. And I laugh at people today when they're like, yeah, oh my God, a hot sauce is $1 billion industry. I'm going to start a hot sauce company. And then they're like, here today, gone later today, because there's no passion. They don't know nothing. They just think it's a quick way to get rich, and it's a scheme. And I'm like, no, dude, this is like a way of life, man. And I see it all the time, and it just cracks me up.
Well, and there's a couple things. One is you've got to be willing to write the song or get to the plate in the first place, to use the metaphor.
Yeah.
And so you just got to take the risk, and you can't take each time baseball percentages are pretty low for, all things considered. They're, less than 40%, for example, most less than 30%, on actually hitting the ball. And so, or not getting out or whatever. And so, that's not a great percentage, but they still do it. And those guys are the best in the world. Think about that. So, or basketball, look at actually the percentage of shots people hit. Or soccer, how many, that's probably the most extreme, is how many times do I have to kick the ball at the goal before I score? Sometimes it's zero. I get a 0% during a game. So it's like one of those things where if you don't keep trying, you're never going to succeed at it. But you got to understand there's going to be huge failure along the way, or opportunities to improve, or whatever you want to call them, or, fall forward, or another growing opportunity, whatever it is. There's the other part that you said that I thought was just important, was that it's part of it. It's part of the lesson. It's part of getting there. You have to go through it in order to get there, because really what you're doing is you're doing it because you want this and you feel passionate about it, and it's a lifestyle. And really when it becomes that, the money just comes. Everyone jokes around about it, or thinks it's some like Instagram meme or something like that, but it is true. You chase the money, you become consumed by that and profiting, and your quality and your product and yourself and your authenticity suffers. When you do it the right way for you, and you build slowly and have the patience to stay true to what you're doing, and it's got to be a good product, don't get me wrong, get feedback and take the time to do it like you did, it will grow and the money will come, And so it's not about the money. Absolutely. It's not about a get-rich-quick scheme, because if anyone knows, and I'm sure you know, it's not easy. And there's a lot of frustration, a lot of hardship. So if it's not something that you love doing, you're probably not going to succeed at it, and the money's never going to come anyway. So if it's just to get rich quick, you're probably not going to get rich at all. In fact, the exact opposite. Yeah. So
it's funny. Like my mom, she's always like, oh my God, I found out about this new band. They're brand new. I heard them on the radio. I'm like, Mom, that band's been around for 10 years. And she goes, oh, I thought they were an overnight success.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, your overnight successes take 10 years.
Yeah. And it's so true.
So, yeah, it's tough.
It's so true. People don't understand the amount of work and the consistency along the way to get there. And so it's pretty cool, and I see that in you, Steve. And so, okay, let's talk about a couple more things, which is the first one being, what are some of the hardships or obstacles you found on your journey that you feel that your experience and how you overcame them might help people that are listening and that are also food and beverage entrepreneurs?
I'm sorry. What was the question again?
So some of the hardships that you've had that you've overcame and how you overcame them, so the other people in the audience can learn from what you've been through.
Yeah. I mean,
I
like
messed up
anything in
that
life,
question a little bit. I'm sorry. I came out all jumbled. Normally I have it succinct, which is how do you feel that your failures could help someone in the future?
yeah, I'm a big, my phone was cutting out. That's why I should repeat it. I'm sorry. No, I'm a strong believer that you learn from history. And if you want to succeed, you don't repeat your failures and you learn from them. So, you know, you're always going to fail at some way or another. Like, you know, so just, I try to study it, like, especially going, like, people are like, what do you know about hot sauce when you got into it? I was like, nothing. I just knew I liked it and I loved it and I had passion for it. And that's how I started it. And one thing that I learned that it is a business. And when you're trying to sell to supermarkets, you got to be on top of your game because those guys will nickel and dime you. They'll, you know, this and that. So that was our hardest transition into it. Went from like a hobby to doing, you know, street fairs, farmers markets, to trying to be quote unquote professional and trying to get into mainstream. That I'm still learning. Every day I learn. It's really tough and sometimes it's frustrating. So I just tell people, you know, really study hard, learn quickly, because sometimes those trends and business things change rapidly, especially with technology and stuff. And yeah, I mean, I'm a strong believer of fall off the horse, get back on it, go faster. You know, so yeah, I mean, we've tripped up a couple of times. We've lost some money, and it sucks, man. It's like getting hit in the head by Mike Tyson, you know. But hopefully you get back up and start swinging again, and learn from your mistakes. And hopefully you don't lose too much money where you go out of business, you know. But when you take it up to the next level, you know, I definitely, you know, all those different things that the supermarket offers, you know, you got to be really smart about it and, you know, it makes sense for you. Sometimes it's not, you know, I've had accounts go, hey man, you know, we'll bring you in, but we want to, you know, we want a free, you know, a slotting fee, and we want like 10 cases of each sauce for free. Do the numbers. I'm like, man, I'm going to lose my ass on this deal. And it's just, sometimes it's not worth it, you know, and you just got to, you know, go with your gut instinct sometimes.
And I know, and people are so afraid to walk away from those deals or maybe their own opportunity. And it's like, you know, it's not the right thing to do. And the term is escaping me right now, like bite off your nose in spite of your face, but that's not, I screw up those things all the time. But it's whatever, you know, if you're going to lose money, it doesn't really help your business. I don't care what store you're in. And stores actually don't build your brand. You know, and people think that, oh, because I got in here, my product's going to be featured in Kroger or Giant or Whole Foods or whatever, that it's going to make it. It's way beyond that. It has a lot to do with how you're out there building loyalty from customers, like we talked about earlier on this podcast. I mean, it's so many things. And it's so short-sighted. It's such a short-sighted thing. And people will be surprised when I say this. Unless you have, what you want to do is exactly what High River Sauces have done and you've done, Steve, is that you want to build enough of the brand loyalty where you get pulled through, meaning there's enough interest in your thing where people want your brand on the shelf. Then you have negotiating power. When you're a nobody and and you have to buy your way in, like, they're not going to sell your product. They're not going to push it even more. That you just paid them to do it. Like, what's in? They're not going. They already made their money. What your product sells or doesn't sells, it doesn't really matter to them. But when you already have sales, they now want a piece of that money, and then
exactly.
You have a little more things to grow. So it takes patience, and it's hard. I know. You know, we get in these arguments in my company all the time. Is, you know, the short-term goal versus the long-term goal. You know, and what's the long-term goal really? And how long do we want to be in business in this product line or with this client? You know, so when a client comes to us and asks for advice, what is our real advice? Yes, I would love to do 1 million pounds of barbecue sauce, or 1 million gallons of barbecue sauce a month. But if that client's, that's great and that's a great idea and that's what XYZ store is promising them, but they're never going to get there because what XYZ store's asking them to do is put $100,000 into advertising, marketing, slotting fees, and free product. And so if they're not in business in 2 months because we just enabled to bankrupt them, one, we're not going to get paid for the 1 million gallons. Two, the 1,000,000 gallons are never going to happen because we gave them advice on bankrupting themselves. Like, I get that the goal in this is an accomplishment of success, but the accomplishment of success is to be wanted, not to force your way into it. And it's a weird thing, and I'm going to give an analogy. It's like love. Demanding love doesn't feel great, but being loved authentically and unconditionally is outstanding because you earned it, right? And so that's what we're talking about here. Build a brand, build something people love, and then people will be attracted to it. God, what's the thing? It's if you want to lead a life that people are attracted to, if you want to be a leader or you want to be a role model, it's not going out there, I'm a leader, I'm a role model. No, you gotta act the part authentically and be that way. And it's the same what you did with your sauce. It's put it out there, get the love authentically, and then people will want it in their stores. And it's like you said, the guy told you a month ago to go F yourself. I get that. If I listened to every time someone told me to go F myself, I wouldn't need to be in a relationship. So
exactly.
So
I've seen hot sauce companies, they're amazed, they're like, yeah, we're starting up. I got this investor. He's gonna give me $200,000. We're gonna get it in this account and this account. I'm like, cool, man. That's exactly the exact opposite of what I did. And they're like dumbfounded when I tell my story. And they're like, they look at me as small potatoes. And I'm like, let's talk in 6 months. And we never talk in 6 months because they're always out of business. And people are amazed. I literally started High River Sauces. I was, I had $1,500 in my checking account. Part of what happened when I was putting that concert together, that tour together, I was unemployed, man. I lost my job, and I was like, well, what am I going to do? And I don't want government handouts, and so we started it and got this rolling, and I literally took my last $1,500 in my bank account and made hot sauce and sold it at farmers markets and stuff, and went from $1,500 to $3,000. I was like, woohoo, I'm a millionaire. It's working. This is awesome, So, I just don't understand how some people have that mentality. I guess it's whatever, to each their own. But I come from the school, maybe it's from working on a farm, the school of hard knocks. You got to, pay your dues. You got to work hard, and no one's going to give you anything, and this and that and everything. And I really am grateful that I had that philosophy, because I think it really helps me out today. And you look back at all the hard work you do, and you have a better understanding and a better appreciation of everything around you. And, I wouldn't change it for the world.
Well, and I hope the audience hears this as well, because we talk about a lot on the podcast, so I'm probably saying it for the 17th time. But if you don't go through it, you don't learn the lessons that actually help you be successful. Yeah. If you can't turn $1,500 into $3,000, you're not going to get a loan from someone or an investor for $150,000 and turn it into $300,000. It's just not going to happen because you didn't learn it along the way. Just because you get money in, money doesn't create success. It's the lessons on how to make that money grow that gives you success.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. And, we've had investors come up to us, because of the Hot Sauce Expos that we put together, and our hot sauce is really exploding now. And people are like, dude, I'll give you X amount of dollars to become X amount of partner. And I'm like, not interested. Oh, dude, I can get you in this and this. Not interested. I'd rather just let it grow organically the way it is. It's like a heavy metal band, dude. Just do it. I will see if it works in the long run, but it's working so far, so I'm not complaining.
So, Steve, as we wrap things up, is there anything that you want to share with the audience?
I'm just grateful the audience is still listening. They're like, who is this guy? But no, check us out, man. If you guys love hot sauce, and we put a lot of love and a lot of good times in those bottles, and I think everyone listening will dig it. And we've our hot sauce is it's not overly expensive, but it's not cheap, but it's we think it's a fair price, $5.99 for a good quality, high quality bottle of hot sauce. And like I said, shoot me an email, and I respond to everything. And I just want to thank everyone for tuning in and listening and supporting you, because you're supporting people like me. So I want to thank everyone, you included, for listening to us talk and supporting the underground scene.
So, Steve, what I would love to do is I'm getting a lot of question and answers from the audience. Well, questions. I shouldn't say questions and answers. They aren't answering anything. But a lot of questions are starting to come in during the quarantine. I think people have more time on their hands. We're starting to get a lot more questions. So what I'd love to do with you, because I think people are going to ask a lot of questions about your story and sort of how things are going, I'd love to get you back on the podcast next week to do a part 2 where we sort of are able to answer those questions, because historically I haven't really answered the questions, or I've sort of brought them up in different ways for the audience to answer. But I think I'm changing things a little bit in that during this quarantine period where a lot of people are asking a lot more questions and listening's up, I think because people have more time on their hands, that we actually do an answer session with you to answer all the questions people have. Is that something you might be interested in?
Yeah, 100%, dude. I'd love that. Absolutely.
So does the same time next week work for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So everyone will be releasing another episode next Wednesday with Steve, and I look forward to it, Steve. And thank you so much for taking the time to be on the podcast.
No, thank you for even having me on. I really appreciate it. It means the world to me, dude. And one day we'll meet up for some beers.
Yeah, there you go, and some hot sauce.
Absolutely.
So everyone who's listening in, again, you can reach us on Instagram and Facebook at Justin the Food Entrepreneurs. Please share the episodes and tell people about it, especially people who are in the food and entrepreneur space. We're here sharing stories. The entrepreneurs get on the podcast to try to tell their story and promote their own brands, but they're also here helping you guys, one, to know you're not alone in the world, because being an entrepreneur can be lonely at times, but also that you don't have to learn all the lessons on your own. And if you do, there's other people that have learned them. So learn from these episodes. I'm like a sponge. I learn something from every episode every day, or I'm reminded about something I should remember that I don't. So part of the reason that I do it, that I feel I shouldn't take money for it, is that I'm learning so much. So it feels a little bit wrong for me. So thank you everyone for listening in. Continue to share the episodes, and thank you again.